Hi there, and thanks so much for joining us. My name is Alexis Rogers, and we start with breaking news. There was an emergency in the sky above Burnsville. A plane had to unexpectedly land in the Minnesota River. Here's a look at new video from Sky 11 from about 50 minutes ago. Information is limited, but police have not confirmed what forced the emergency landing. But at last check, no one was injured. In 2 hours, the Minneapolis City Council will hold a special meeting. It was called after council skipped a discussion on a multi-million-dollar incentive plan for the MPD earlier this week. Mayor Fry says the plan could help fix the police department's ongoing staffing shortage. The plan would give bonuses of $18,000 to existing officers and $15,000 for new officers over a 2.5-year period.
I represent a ward that wants more police. They want good police.
MPD has lost 40% of its officers over the past 3.5 years. The Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension is facing a lawsuit from multiple families calling for more information on what happened to their loved ones that were killed by police. Families say that they've been waiting for months to review evidence related to the deaths. The lawsuit says that means that the BCA violated the Minnesota Data Practices Act, ensuring investigatory files are handed over within 10 days of cases being closed. We asked the BCA for comment on this lawsuit and to clarify its timeline for responding to families in these situations. We have not heard back. Right now, students are back in class at Cooper High School in New Hope. Just yesterday, police found guns on campus. Here's what happened.
I'm Sammy Solina. Guns were found inside 2 students' backpacks at Cooper High in New Hope after a fight between multiple students Thursday morning. In a letter to families, school leaders said no one was hurt and there was no need for a lockdown because the students were isolated. Robbinsdale area schools did not accept our request for an interview.
Today, President Biden is expected to discuss migration with Mexico's president in the last day of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit. The focus of the summit is around economics. Earlier this week, the president met with China leaders, highlighting ties between the countries. Leaders also landed on an agreement to accelerate the transition to clean energy in the Indo-Pacific region. When it comes to today, lawmakers say there is bipartisan interest behind the discussion with Mexico. In the Israel-Hamas war, Israeli Defense Forces say they found the bodies of 2 hostages. In the same area, they say they've found evidence Hamas is using a major Gaza hospital as a command center. NBC's Bree Jackson brings us the latest on how the U.S. is responding.
This is video released by Israeli officials of what they claim is a Hamas tunnel shaft on the grounds of Al-Shifa, the Gaza Strip's main hospital. NBC News cannot independently verify any of the evidence, but can confirm this opening is located near the hospital. The Biden administration expressing confidence in its assessment of how it's used.
It is true that a command and control node was underneath that hospital, and that Hamas has used that hospital not only for storage of weapons, but also to house some of their fighters.
The IDF remains inside after storming the hospital for the second time in 24 hours, saying they discovered items including AK-47s and hand grenades.
This is something that's really monstrous in what Hamas has done to try to embed itself among civilians. It creates a terrible dilemma for a country like Israel, for any country, having been attacked, having had its citizens slaughtered.
The U.S. says it's working with Israel to accelerate the transit of critical humanitarian aid into Gaza.
It is absolutely incumbent upon militaries to avoid any harm, not only to innocent civilians, but also to medical providers.
Israel says it found the bodies of 2 Hamas hostages close to Al-Shifa Hospital, a 19-year-old Israeli soldier and a 65-year-old mother of 5. The White House is still working to bring others held captive home.
So it's my hope that the timeline will be short and they will be released soon.
Across the country, calls for a ceasefire continue. In Washington, Bree Jackson, NBC News.
We're getting a live look at Minneapolis this weekend. We're headed into the weekend with plenty of sun, but don't let it fool you. As my grandma would say, make sure you keep that jacket in the back of your car. Don't be a fool.
Yeah, absolutely, especially this time of year. We can go from 60s to 40s real quick, and that's exactly what we're experiencing today. However, the wind has shifted from the southwest, and what that really means for us is the influx of that colder air has halted for now, and you can see it's fairly light compared to the 40, 45 mile per hour gusts we saw yesterday, but it certainly is a whole lot colder. In fact, we're about 20 degrees colder right now than we were just 24 hours ago. Currently sitting at 40 degrees. But it is going to be a mostly sunny day today. We started off with some mid and high level clouds. Those have vacated, and you could expect to see sunshine not only today, but through a good chunk of this upcoming weekend. We do have a few showers in the forecast to start off the work week, but it doesn't look overly wet. And then beyond Monday, temperatures really start to plummet. And we are looking at a very cold, relatively speaking, Thanksgiving. We saw 60s yesterday. Thanksgiving, Alexis, temperatures will have a tough time getting out of the 20s. We'll have more details on that forecast coming up.
Ben, thank you. Today, kids at Normandale Hills Elementary in Bloomington are learning online as crews disinfect their building. Bloomington schools say there's been an increase in students' absences because of a highly contagious gastrointestinal illness. Today is the second day kids are learning from home. Flu and RSV season is ramping up here in Minnesota, and new data from the Minnesota Department of Health shows a jump in hospitalizations for both illnesses. Right now, RSV is outpacing the flu. Wisconsin is also seeing increases. Well, new at noon, we're getting a sneak peek of the new Toys R Us store in the Mall of America. We were at the ribbon cutting just a few hours ago. A grand opening for everyone who wants to check out the latest toys will start this weekend. And this is only the second Toys R Us to reemerge after stores were closed across the country a few years ago. The vice president wrote in a statement saying after seeing success at the first store, creating a store at MOA was a must.